Today I'm telling you about an Olympian goddess you've probably never heard of, Hestia. She isn't a side character or a minor deity. She's the most senior of the original 12 Olympians, the first child Cronus swallowed, and by Greek seniority rules, the first among all Olympian gods. Yet open any Greek mythology book today, and the protagonists are Zeus, Athena, Apollo. Hestia doesn't even have a story. Her seat was later taken by Dionysus, the wine god, and she was wiped right off the official Olympian roster. The first goddess of Olympus 3,000 years ago barely has a name left today. Her seniority first. Hesiod's theogony from line 453 onward is crystal clear. Cronus and Rhea had 6 children: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, Zeus. Cronus, fearing his children would overthrow him, swallowed each one as it was born. Hestia was swallowed first. Later Zeus grew up, fed Cronus and Emetic, and the children were vomited out in reverse order. Hestia came out last, but because she was the first swallowed, the Greeks gave her a special title: eldest and youngest. The meaning: she's both the firstborn and the last to return, so by both seniority and genealogy, she ranks first among Olympians. This episode follows 3 primary sources: Hesiod, the Homeric hymns, and Pliny, to reconstruct 3 things about Hestia. 1. Why she was the first Olympian goddess but got replaced by Dionysus the wine god. 2. Why every Greek wedding, every political assembly, every household hearth was first dedicated to her. Yet she herself has no story. 3. Why she was eliminated from mythology, but her work continues today in every Olympic flame, every household kitchen. The keyword for the whole story is 1. Narrative equals survival. A character without a motivational story gets eliminated from inside the myth, no matter how vital her domain. First, her actual power. In Greek myth, Zeus and his 2 brothers drew lots. Zeus got the sky, Poseidon the sea, Hades the underworld. The 3 sisters each ran a domain. Demeter handled agriculture, Hera handled marriage, Hestia handled the most critical one: the hearth, the household fire, the family, the central flame of the city-state. Sounds domestic? The Greeks didn't see it that way. In Greek, Hestia literally means hearth. Every household's central hearth was her altar. Every city-state's town hall central never-extinguished fire, called Prytaneon, was hers. Fire equals family equals city equals civilization itself. That's what she ran. Greek religion had an iron rule. Every sacrifice begins with Hestia. The first cup at a wedding was poured on the hearth. The first phrase of a political assembly's prayer named her. The first offering at a city ceremony went on her altar. Plutarch's Moralia writes, "First to Hestia, then to the other gods." Religion scholars call this the first offering rule, proto-Hestiae. In other words, even with Zeus on the throne of King of Gods, the actual opening line of every ritual still belonged to Hestia. Her ritual rank was higher than the King of Gods. That's how her real power showed. She didn't need a story, because every Greek lighting a hearth was already worshipping her daily. Her official text endorsement is Homeric Hymn 24, the Hymn to Hestia, a 7th century BC poem. The original lines: Hestia, in all dwellings of mortals you have an everlasting place. You are the most holy among gods, worshipped by mortals and immortals alike. Key words: all mortals and gods worship her. She has an eternal seat. She is the most holy among gods, Hagnotiton. The Greek word Hagnotiton appears only a handful of times in the entire corpus, always for the highest-ranked deity. Homeric Hymn 29 is also dedicated to her. Opening with the first and last cup at every banquet is for Hestia. The whole official hymn system places her at the top. Yet open Homer's 2 epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and something strange happens. Hestia barely appears. The Iliad's 15,693 lines give her not a single line of dialogue. The Odyssey's 12,110 lines mention the hearth at home, only in passing. Meanwhile, Athena, Apollo, and Hera get full screen time. and Zeus's mortal love affairs are listed in detail. Hestia has no romance, no conflict, no revenge, no rival. Classicist Walter Burkert in Greek religion puts it directly. She lacks a motivational story, so the epic poems have nowhere to put her. She handles the most and the heaviest, but her life has no script worth writing. Why no motive? Because she cut her own motive off. Homeric Hymn 5, the hymn to Aphrodite, line 21, says, Apollo and Poseidon both pursued Hestia, and she swore in front of Zeus, by the head of Zeus, I swear to remain forever a virgin and never marry. Zeus was moved by this oath and granted her a privilege. She would sit at the center of every household and receive the richest portions of mortal offerings. Problem: once the oath was sworn, she exited every domestic intrigue on Olympus. No romance, no jealousy, no revenge, narrative tension reset to zero. She became the most stable, most screen-time-less god in Greek myth, like a system background process. Now her replacement by Dionysus. Greek mythology has the 12 Olympians as official roster, and the earliest list included Hestia. But by the classical period, 5th to 4th century BC, the cult of Dionysus exploded in Athens. The city held the Great Dionysia annually, the core venue for Athenian theater, politics, and diplomacy. Dionysus needed an Olympian rank matching his influence. The 12 seats were full. What to do? Walter Burkert writes plainly, Hestia voluntarily yielded her seat and stepped down to earth. On the surface, she gave way. In reality, this was narrative natural selection. A character with a motivational story crowding out a character without one. Why Dionysus? Not because he was stronger, but because he was more useful. Greek symposium culture, starting in the 6th century BC, became the political social core of the aristocratic class. Drinking, debate, decision-making all happened at the banquet. The wine god was the face of this culture. Athens's annual Dionysia featured drama competitions. Sophocles, Euripides, Aristophanes all came out of these contests. The history of Greek drama is the history of Dionysus. A god who delivers cultural output naturally outranks a god who silently tends the hearth. Narrative economics is cold. You're worth as many seats as scripts you can produce. Classicist Walter Burkert in his 1985 Greek Religion, page 170, writes, Hestia's replacement is a textbook case of Greek religion's mythologization process. He means this. Many early Greek gods were originally function-only entities, the one in charge of the hearth, the doorway, the crossroads. They had no personality story, only a specific function. Later, as religion was systematized by poets and dramatized by playwrights, storyless gods got eliminated one by one and replaced by gods with stories. Hestia was the biggest casualty of this process because her office was the most important, but she was the worst at writing her own script. Greek mythology fired her, but the Romans hired her back. The Romans renamed her Vesta, and her status went even higher than in Greece. Pliny the Elder's Natural History 5.30 records. The Temple of Vesta in the Roman Forum was the most sacred building in the city, housing a sacred flame that by law could never be extinguished. Roman law specified, if the fire goes out, the entire state suffers calamity. Guarding this flame were the Vestal Virgins, 6 girls from the highest-ranking Roman families, selected age 6 to 10, sworn to celibacy for 30 years. Their status was so high they could pardon condemned criminals and inherit property, rights almost no Roman woman had. Rome made Hestia Vesta a state-level core institution. The Roman Vestal flame burned from 7th century BC to 391 AD, 1,100 years without going out. Through civil wars, plagues, foreign invasions, the fire never broke. Until 391 AD when Emperor Theodosius I closed all pagan temples, enforced Christianity, and the Temple of Vesta was forcibly shut, the flame officially extinguished. That was the physical end moment of Hestia's job, but only on the surface. Because Christianity, after taking over, soon developed its own eternal flame tradition, the perpetual altar lamp in churches, the unceasing incense in monasteries. The fire never actually broke. It just changed owners and kept burning. In the modern world, Hestia's flame still burns, just under different names. Most visibly, the Olympic flame. The 1928 Amsterdam Olympics first lit a main torch. The 1936 Berlin Olympics first ran a torch relay from Olympia to the host city. The whole ritual traces straight back to the central Hestia altar at ancient Olympia, the original birthplace of the Games. Every Olympics flame-lighting ceremony takes place at the Olympia ruins, performed by actresses in classical Greek priestess robes using a parabolic mirror to capture sunlight and ignite the torch. In other words, every 4 years the world watches a reenactment of the Hestia ritual from 3,000 years ago. Another continuation line: the eternal flames at war memorials around the world. Paris's Arc de Triomphe has an unextinguishable flame at the tomb of the unknown soldier, lit in 1923, rekindled every evening at 6:30 p.m. by the Veterans Association. Arlington National Cemetery's Kennedy gravesite has had an eternal flame since 1963. Regulation requires it never goes out. Moscow's Red Square outside the Kremlin Wall, Ottawa's Parliament Hill in Canada, the India Gate in New Delhi. At least 30 countries worldwide have lit a never-extinguished flame at their most important monument. This is the modern secular Hestia altar, commemorating not gods but soldiers who died for country. But the ritual logic is identical. Fire never goes out equals memory never dies equals city-state endures. And a hidden continuation. In 1958, NASA launched the United States' first satellite, Vanguard 1, and the engineer's internal code name for it was Hestia, because it had to maintain a stable household power state in space. This satellite's solar panels were the first power system humans ever ran in orbit, and as of 2026, it is still up there, the longest-lasting human-made object in history. It quietly powers itself in space. No missions, no signals, no high-profile assignments. Exactly Hestia's job description: hold the center, stay stable, don't take the field. NASA engineers, most having studied classics, made this naming a conscious tribute. Back on the ground, your kitchen. In an ancient Greek house, the hearth had to sit in the geometric center of the home, with the family eating around it. That central hearth was Hestia's altar. On the 5th day after a birth, the newborn was carried in a circle around the hearth as the official ritual of entering the family. On a wedding day, the bride had to take a flame from her parents' hearth and use it to light her new husband's hearth, meaning family lineage continues, the fire never breaks. Today your kitchen runs on gas or induction, but from medieval European hearths to Victorian fireplaces to today's American living room fireplace, every household's central fire source still descends from the same cultural archetype. Her domain, the home, has not changed license holder in 3,000 years. Psychologist Carl Jung in his archetypes work listed hearth/fire as one of the core archetypes of human collective unconscious, meaning the safe center. His student Marie-Louise von Franz in a 1972 lecture said directly, "The Hestia archetype exists in every culture because without a center there is no home, and without a home there is no human." Modern cognitive science backs this up. A 2018 MIT study found that the brain region activated when humans feel home safety, the anterior cingulate cortex, overlaps heavily with the region activated when seeing a centered stable light source. In other words, Hestia isn't a forgotten goddess, she's a neural reflex. Wherever there's a central stable flame, there's her altar. Why did she vanish from mythology? 3 reasons. 1. She had a job, but no events. Her domain was the largest and heaviest, but she didn't take part in conflicts. Epic poetry needs characters with motive and drama. Characters without motive can't fit into a script. 2. She had no romance. 80% of Greek myth volume is about love, jealousy, and revenge between gods or between gods and mortals. Once she swore the chastity oath, this entire largest content channel shut. 3. Her replacement timing coincided exactly with the rise of the Dionysia, at the cultural turning point when ancient Greece shifted from family-centered to symposium-centered. The hearth gave way to the wine cup. She wasn't defeated. She was eliminated by a new cultural form. Her story has a direct modern equivalent. Core system maintainers, senior engineers, ops teams, head nurses at hospitals, full-time stay-at-home parents. Every role not on stage, but the system collapses if they stop. These people are the modern Hestia, doing the most important work, but because they have no dramatic story, they don't make headlines, don't get the protagonist script, don't get remembered. Greek mythology already played out this mechanism 3,000 years ago. Those running the most important things vanish from the narrative most easily. Once you realize this, you start seeing the storyless people around you differently. 3 observations. 1. Whoever holds the fire holds power. Hestia's flame got replaced by Dionysus's wine cup. That was a cultural center shift. When a culture moves from family/stability to public/festival, the original center god gets pushed aside. 2. Characters without a motivational story get eliminated by myth. Narrative economics determines status more than actual function. A character's importance isn't determined by what they do, but by whether they generate scripts. 3. But her work continues today in every household kitchen, every Olympic opening ceremony, every national monument. You can be erased from mythology, but the kind of central stability you defined keeps going. The fire can change owners, but the fire doesn't go out. This is Hestia's 3,000-year life simulation. She was the first child Cronus vomited out, the opening line of every Greek sacrifice, the most holy among gods in the Homeric hymn. But she had no story, so she got replaced by the wine god in the official 12 Olympian roster. Yet the fire she ran, the Olympic flame, the eternal flames at war memorials, the hearth in your kitchen, the perpetual lamp in churches, has not gone out for 3,000 years. She didn't disappear. She just stepped from the front stage to the back. Share with your family. Let them know the name behind the lamp at home. Next episode you want. A. The moon goddess Selene and the mortal shepherd Endymion's hidden love story. Or B. The river god Achilles, the water god who fought Heracles. Why was he forgotten? Comment below.